how to juggle work, personal life, and other key priorities without feeling overwhelmed. Let me know in the comments if this is a question, a problem that you are looking for a solution to. So don't forget that there is a free workbook that goes along with this class today. It's a 7-page activity workbook that's really going to help you guys to work through these classes. There's prompts and pages dedicated for each of the activities that we're going to do. So this, like I said, this workshop isn't just about learning, it's about implementation. I want you to apply what you learn to balance your life. This is not just another video that you're going to listen to and not take action on. This isn't like a podcast episode that you're just listening to feel motivated while you do the dishes or take a walk, right? I want you guys to walk away from this class with actions to take and a plan to make it happen, right? So you're going to use the workbook to complete each activity, and by the end of class, you will have a plan for your more balanced and successful life. The link to the workbook was in your emails. If you were on my email list and you registered for this ahead of time, the link for the workbook's in there. If not, I believe that I put the link to register for the workshop down below in the description box, so you can check that out. And I think what happens is if you sign up, it will forward you immediately over to the download page for now while the class is live. And then after class is live and I wrap things up, I'll have it better organized with the replay later. So now that you've mapped out your goals and objectives, let's talk about the systems that will help you juggle everything without feeling overwhelmed. The secret to balance isn't about trying to fit everything into one day. It's about creating structure with your time. In this section, we'll focus on 2 key time management systems: your ideal daily routine and your default weekly schedule. So the first activity I have for you here in this section is to create your ideal daily routine. So let's start with your ideal daily routine. This is the foundation for staying productive, maintaining your energy, and avoiding burnout. For many people, it's helpful to create 2 versions of this routine, one for weekdays and one for weekends or whatever you consider your day off, right? So this is a routine that you are going to define, right? That this is my ideal day. This is the routine I will do on my ideal workday. This is the routine I will do on my ideal day off. And the image that you're seeing on the screen right now is the ideal day that's inside of the master planner, right? Now, like I said, I did give you guys something a little bit different inside of the workbook, right? But it's going to give you a slot for workday and it's not a slot, a time schedule for workdays and for your day off, right? If you need to have 2 versions of this, right? So your daily routine, right, should include things like a morning, a workday, and an evening routine, right? So like a routine of things that you do in the morning to get you ready, things that you do to prepare yourself for work and even to wind down after work or to wrap up your work at the end of the day, workday, and an evening routine, which is the purpose of an evening routine is to help you to organize your day, close it down so that you can go to sleep and have a really good night's sleep. So a mindset shift that you want to remember is that taking breaks is productive, right? So a 5 to 10 minute break taken at the first sign of fatigue can boost your focus and energy far more effectively than pushing through until you're completely drained, okay? So, I totally jumped ahead. The routine should include workday, morning, and evening routines at least, right? Time blocks for meals and daily planning and other key habits, right? So if you listed out a habit, right, on your objectives list that you will work through, when are you going to put it in your day, right? White space and breaks to keep your energy stable throughout the day. And that's where the mindset shift comes in, right? I know that we are so programmed to think that we should not be taking breaks, that we need to take every minute we can, right? And just like milk it all out of life, right? But taking a break strategically, right? If you take a 5 to 10 minute break at the first sign of fatigue, right? You are going to have it's an easier time recovering and have more energy than if you waited, right, until you were exhausted, right? And then you had to take a much longer break and then you're completely drained, right? So it's very important that we put in enough white space in our day. So the purpose of this routine is not to fill every single minute, right? But it's about scheduling our time, structuring our time, right? And saying, this is a day. What would my ideal day look like on my work day? And what would my ideal day look like on my day off, right? So on the page you're looking at here, there's a timetable, and you could use this any which way, truthfully. There's a timetable with an activity list on one side, which is what I think of it as being the place that where you'd break out the times for a work day. And then the boxes on the right side could be like your day off, right? So what are the morning things you do, afternoon things, evening? Because maybe on your day off, you're more loosey-goosey with your time. But I know that there are plenty of you out there who are actually reverse, that their days off, they have so much to do on their days off, like managing all their priorities, that needs to be the thing that gets time scheduled. And the days that they're at work, they handle less because they're at work for a good chunk of the day. So that maybe your schedule is looser on the days where you work, right? So use this, in the master planner, you can use this any which way, but you have like essentially the exact same setup here in the workbook. So in the workbook, you have plenty of space to break out exact timetables. And I will say the timetables are not the important part. It is good to use time as a method to help you structure and keep on track, but it's more important that you list the items out that you're going to do and schedule out your time in a workflow, in a flow, right? So that you are getting into the habit of following this routine, right? Because we don't actually develop habits like based on time. Like I know sometimes when our lives are very predictable, right? We might actually get hungry at the exact same time every day, or we get tired at the exact same time every day. And if that is you, you should use that information to your advantage to be able to structure in breaks and things like that to your day. But we don't establish habits necessarily based on time, right? We establish habits based on the routine of the flow of what we're working on. So let's say you start this routine one day and you normally wake up at 6, but one day you weren't feeling well and you woke up at 8. It doesn't mean that you don't do the things that were listed on the routine from 6 to 8 a.m. It just means you're starting it a little bit later and flowing through your day in the order that makes the most sense, right? And by the end of the day, you may actually find that time has expanded or it is contracted, right? So what is that called? That's called Parkinson's law, when time expands to give you enough time to do all of the tasks that you need to do. But that's actually not precisely the right way to think of it. It's if you give yourself 10 hours to do something, it'll take you 10 hours to do something. So time will also contract for you as well, which means that if you have less time, right, you may still find that you're able to get everything done, because that kind of like that contraction of time, knowing that you have to do more in less time, can help give you, a little bit extra stamina to get through the tasks. I know I did not explain that properly right then, but Parkinson's law, time expands or contracts, right, to fit the task that you have to get done based on what your expectations are. Oh, heavens. I didn't start your timer. So start filling out what your ideal daily routine is going to be. And the way I like to do this is I like to start with what time I need to wake up in the morning. And then from there, I will calculate back. If I need to wake up at this time, what time do I need to be lights out like I'm asleep? Right? That will help you to kind of give you the kind of like the brackets for your morning and your evening routines. And of course, like working backwards, like reverse engineering. If you need to be asleep at a certain time, it means you need to get in bed by a certain time, which means there's a certain number of things you had to get done before that period of time, right? So we're working backwards. Anything you've listed out too in that first section that we worked on, any of those measures, right, that might apply to a typical day, make sure you make time for them. And of course, as you complete your goal setting, you're going to probably need to shift this around as well. But it's a good idea to just get started with what you think your typical day should be, your ideal day would be. For anyone who is liking this music, by the way, I know this is like a classical music compilation. I have this playlist on my YouTube channel. It's called Genius Mode. So if you go into YouTube and type in MissTrenchcoat Genius Mode, you will get this actual playlist. It's a playlist of classical music plus brainwave boosting, like productivity boosting. If you can hear it, there's like that high pitched noise if you listen really closely. So there's a theta, not theta, I'm sorry. It's like a beta. It's a beta brainwave or an alpha. It might be an alpha. It's probably an alpha. But there's a productivity boosting brainwave in there. And I think there's also keyboard typing noises in there as well. So it's one of those things that's a really good idea to listen to while you're working. Okay. So hopefully you guys were able to do some work on your ideal daily routine. Next. Oh, goodness. I had more things about this. Okay. To help you create your ideal day, let's answer a few questions. I'm so sorry. I had you guys do it before I moved on to this. Okay. So here are some questions that you want to add to help you work through this. What are the key activities you need to include in your day to feel balanced and accomplished? Okay. So examples could be like self-care, work tasks, family time, exercise, hobbies. And a tip here, think about what keeps you physically, mentally, and emotionally aligned, right? Because you're going to want to integrate things that help you feel more balanced, right? And more aligned. Next question is, when do you feel most energized and focused during the day? So identify your natural energy peaks and dips, right? Like I said, if you happen to know when you do get those energy peaks and those energy dips, that'll help you to plan productive work time, and it'll help you to plan breaks. What habits, what else does it say there? Identify your natural energy peaks and dips, and then schedule your most demanding tasks during the high energy periods, right? So what habits or routines can you stack together to create flow in your day? So examples would be pairing a morning workout with a podcast, doing skincare while practicing affirmations. These are things that you could stack together. And a tip here is to use habit stacking to build consistency and help you save time. How much white space, unscheduled time, right, do you need in your day to feel relaxed and avoid burnout? So consider short breaks, time for reflection, and flexibility for unexpected tasks. One of the reasons so many women get so overwhelmed in their workday, or just in their day in general, right, is that unexpected things come up and they've planned their day so, like, they've overplanned with no white space, so that when a new thing pops up, like a domino effect goes off, like a chain reaction goes off, where you have, because you have to do this new urgent thing, it pushes everything else off. And of course, that means that everything that you planned can't get done. But if you have white space in your day and you have plenty of it, if something unexpected comes up, you're able to deal with that without ruining the rest of your plan. And guess what? If nothing unexpected comes up that day, it means that you have these breaks to either rest and reflect, or it means that you could pull some other things off your to-do list and get more done, right? So it's a much better place to be at, is to have plan for less, have some white space so that you actually don't get thrown off. What are the top 3 non-negotiables that must be part of your ideal day, right? So what are your non-negotiable things, like eating a healthy breakfast, quality time with loved ones, or maybe a nightly wind down routine? Just examples. So the tip here is that these should be your daily anchors that keep you grounded throughout the day. So you could take a moment to jot down these ideas for your ideal daily routine based on these questions. So I'll give us like another minute for this. Okay, so hopefully you took a little bit of time to integrate those questions into your daily routine as well. So the second important system that you need to manage your time and your tasks, right, is a default weekly schedule. So think about your default weekly schedule as being almost the same as like your ideal daily routine, but instead of one day, we're looking at one entire week, okay? So this is why I think a lot of people overlook this, but this is why I think a weekly schedule is so important. How many of us, like tell me if this is you in the comments, are trying to get everything and fit everything into a single day? Like you're trying to move all of your priorities forward in one single day. But of course, that leads you to be like overwhelmed and overworked. But if you step back, right, and you look beyond the day, right, because 24 hours, not enough time to get everything done. But if you zoom out, you take a step back and you look at an entire week, that's 168 hours. It's like 24 hours, 168 hours. Like you have much more time to actually balance your priorities across a week, right? So your default weekly schedule is how you are going to, it's like a default, it's like a template for how you are going to handle your time across a typical week. So it should include distinct time blocks for each of your priorities. For example, you might not have time to work on your side hustle every single day. Maybe one of your goals was a side hustle. You're going to start a Instagram, okay? And you don't necessarily have time to work on that every day for like an hour or two. But you can set aside a block of time of like 1 to 2 hours once or maybe a few times a week, right? In strategic places. And then that is a better way for you to manage that, that priority moving forward. Instead of worrying about it every day, you're just going to worry about it once or a few times a week, right? In these specific time blocks, right? Because a single day is just not enough time, right? But if you could put it into your week somewhere, if you could time block it somewhere, that is more productive for you, right? So this default schedule, right, is also where you can integrate task management strategies. One of the biggest ones that I like to integrate into my weekly schedule is my themed workdays. So themed workdays allow you to group similar tasks together, which reduce task switching. I don't know if you know this, but whenever you have to switch between different types of tasks, you lose something like 20 to 30 minutes of productivity because your brain actually needs to switch to thinking about and like turn on a different mode of creativity or problem solving depending on what you're working on. So if you can batch your tasks and do like things together on a certain day, either you could theme the entire day, your work day, or just time blocks in your day, that means that you're going to save yourself time and energy and have this mental capacity that's much is much bigger because you're not having to choose what else to work on or having to, change the mode that your brain is in too often throughout the day, right? So theming your work days is something that you may want to consider doing as well, which is something that I've been doing for years, not just as someone who works for themselves. This is critical for me as someone who works for myself to have this sort of schedule. But even when I worked a 9 to 5 at a corporate company, right, in a couple of different roles, I would theme my work days. So, and more like my blocks of time. So it would be like I'd have specific blocks of time for admin work. I might have specific blocks of time for doing reporting or for, working in a certain computer application program that I might have needed to be working in, right? I may have had specific time blocks for, calling customers back or doing sorts of like email work and things like that. So if you could break down, batch your tasks, right, by day, what are these sorts of, tasks that you do frequently that could just be like assigned to, I only do this once or twice a week, right? So it's not something you have to touch every single day, right? So think about how you could be theming your work days across a week to get everything done at the end of the week. Now, here, before we get into actually building our default weekly schedule, I've got some questions for you to ponder on to help you build this better. So the first one is, what are your main priorities for the week and how much time do they require? So I want you to think back to the priorities that you listed out earlier in our class and think about what you need to be. Remember, it was these are the priorities. These are the areas of the life that are unbalanced. These are your expectations for what's going to make you balanced and successful, right? Where can you be scheduling in time blocks for each of those priorities? You don't have to touch everything every day. You should be touching everything by the end of a week, however, right? So what are those priorities? How much time do you have do they require, and where can you schedule them into your day? So examples here would be like work or family or personal development or fitness or hobbies or social activities. So the tip here is to assign time blocks to each priority, focusing on what truly matters. So which tasks or activities can be grouped or themed to save time and reduce task switching? Again, so this is on that idea of theming your work days, but you could actually go beyond work and actually think about theming even like personal things that you're doing in your life. So the example here is meal prep, errands, administrative work, or content creation, right? So a tip here is by batching similar tasks together, it minimizes mental fatigue and improves efficiency. One of the things that I do that is incredibly helpful, that's like a way that I theme or batch work that's outside of my business, is I do meal plan and prep, right? So I will plan my meals for the week. I will get all the groceries for it, and then I will cook a whole bunch of things and put them in the refrigerator, like properly store them, right? And then I've cooked all my meals for like a week, right? So that is something that I do like on a regular time block. Like there's a time block I have for meal planning and grocery shopping and for prepping meals, right? So that helps me to cut back on the amount of times I have to be cooking, and of course, the amount of times I have to be cleaning up after my cooking, which is another thing. It's one thing to cook meals every day. It's another thing to have to clean all the pots and pans, right? So that's another thing you want to think about. So and another thing you might want to think about too is like laundry. That's like a laundry or chores around the house. I know a lot of people feel like they have to do things every single day. An example of this is like laundry, right? So laundry is one of those things that like I have like a little bit of a different view of laundry than some people do. I know that some productivity philosophies would have you do like a load of laundry every single day. And I think that's fine if by the end of a week, if you didn't do your laundry, let's say you waited till like a Sunday or whatever to do your laundry. If you waited till Sunday, would you have 7 or more loads to have to do? And if the answer to that question is yes, then by all means, every day put in a load of laundry. If the answer is no, right, that you'd only maybe do 3 loads of laundry, then I think it's better to batch, right? Because it's going to be more efficient. Like you're going to be saving water, you're going to be saving time and mental energy. I realize it's going to be more laundry to have to do at once, but you also only have to do it once, right? So I personally think that, with the laundry thing is if you waited a week to do laundry and you'd have less than 7 loads, that it's probably more productive to wait and do them all together, like batch it. That's just another example of how you could be batching things in your life, right? Other chores, right? Do you have to be vacuuming your whole house every single day? Or maybe there's just like the kitchen or a living room or a playroom that you need to vacuum every day, but then you can do the rest of the house once a week, right? But how often do we feel like we need to do things every single solitary day, right? That's one of those things where certain things are probably better to just batch, so you don't have to touch it as much. Another question here is what recurring obligations like work hours, meetings, appointments must be accounted for, right? So there may be things that you have going on in your life that absolutely have to be accounted for, like your kids, schedules. Maybe you help with a family member and there's like a recurring thing that you do for that. Identify any fixed commitments and anchor them in your schedule first, right? So a tip here is to use these as like a foundation for structuring the rest of your week. Next question is how much time do you need for self-care and to rejuvenate, and when is the best time to schedule that in? So that would be like exercise, meditation, relaxation, and hobbies. The tip here is to make self-care non-negotiable by reserving specific slots for it in your schedule. And then the final question is how will you plan for flexibility and unexpected events during the week? Examples would be leaving white space or scheduling buffer time or using like catch-up blocks, right? So something that I actually do in my work schedule is this idea of a power hour. Like I like to have like a weekly power hour and I usually do it on Fridays. So it's like, this is a catch-up block. If there was anything that I didn't get done that I thought I was going to do earlier in the week, I will get it done during a power hour, right? So that's an idea of like a type of work block you can actually schedule in to make sure that you're giving yourself extra time to meet all of your expectations at the end of the week, right? So tip here is to balance structure with adaptability to avoid feeling overwhelmed, okay? So now I'm going to give us another 3 minutes to start laying out our weekly schedule. Okay. So hopefully you were able to start laying some things out on your ideal weekly schedule.